When Granny Rose started acting that way in the middle of the parking lot, it made the people who saw her wonder if she was all right. Was she going through something? Was she okay, health-wise? However, it wasn't the first time that this elderly lady did this. But when people saw it for the first time, it was an image that they couldn't easily forget. Despite her age, Rose still kept the vitality and energy of a young girl within her. She was always ready to cheer up everyone around her, overcome or brush off the negative, and bring some light to everyone's lives. However, this granny was known by his neighbors and acquaintances for sometimes taking things too far. On occasion, her behavior seemed out of the ordinary to some people. Granny Rose was the matriarch of a huge family. They all loved her and respected her, and they were always endeared by how full of life Rose still was at her age. However, her relatives started noticing some alarming tendencies as Rose grew older. She kept getting herself into risky situations. She said that life was meant to be lived, and she always seemed to be pushing it to the limit. For her whole life, Rose had been living in the same small town. She had married her husband really young, and they were happy together. They remained crazy about each other for decades, and their children were raised in a loving home. However, not everything in Rose's life had been a bed of roses. She had gone through hardships and struggles. She had no other option, given the era she had lived in. But she always looked on the bright side of life and tried to enjoy every moment of her time on Earth. Granny Rose was always a party animal. The most important thing for her was to always light up the room and make everyone around her have a good time. These qualities of hers were really appreciated and loved by all the members of her big family. But when they saw the footage of what she did in the parking lot, they started wondering if Rose was starting to lose it. Rose had a legion of children and grandchildren. They all saw in her not only a great cook and a sweet and kind woman, but someone they could confide in and fall back on when they were going through something. She was their rock. She was always there for her relatives no matter what their hardships were. But even those who trusted her the most started wondering if she was all right after they saw the video. The incident occurred shortly after the anniversary of her husband's decease. Ever since she became a widow, all her relatives tried to spend time with her so she wouldn't feel lonely. They were worried that her husband passing away might have some negative consequences in Rose's psyche and spirits, and after they saw the footage, they had even more reasons to be concerned. Just like most people when they reach a certain age, Rose's faculties seemed to decline as she grew older. She couldn't move as easily as she used to, and even her character seemed to change a little bit. Of course, all of her children and grandchildren did everything they could to make sure she was all right. But after they saw the video, they started fearing that things might have taken a turn for the worse. Just like most people when they reach a certain age, Rose's faculties seemed to decline as she grew older. She couldn't move as easily as she used to, and even her character seemed to change a little bit. Of course, all her children and grandchildren did everything they could to make sure she was all right. But after they saw the video, they started fearing that things might have taken a turn for the worse. It happened far away from her home, and many people were around the parking lot that day. When they saw Rose getting out of her car and engaging in that puzzling behavior, they didn't know what to think. It wasn't the type of thing that you see an old lady doing every day. That's why some people brought out their phones and started filming her. However, Rose wasn't aware that there was people watching her that day at the parking lot, but she caught the attention of a young woman who was there with a friend who decided to film the incident. While she was recording her, the young woman wondered if she should approach Rose and make sure that she was all right. She even thought about calling the police or the paramedics. Rose got out of her car, blasted her music through the speakers, and started dancing like she was 20 years old again. At first, the young woman witnessing it was worried, but then she understood that Rose was actually having great fun. She was just enjoying herself, and she didn't even know that she was being recorded. Although people who knew Rose believed that she would dance without a care in the world regardless, the young woman in the car and her friends thought that no one would act this way in public. Rose loved music and dancing, and even though her age didn't allow her to go as crazy as when she was younger, she still showed off her moves whenever she had the chance. Although she was unaware she was being watched, the woman certainly made her audience laugh and smile. They were all cheering for her. Her family and friends were happy to see the video of their favorite grandma dancing without a care in the world. They were grateful someone was there to capture the moment. She looked like she was having a lot of fun and maybe stretching after a long car ride as well, and not just dancing for the sake of it. The old woman even twists herself down low to the ground, making the people who were watching laugh with joy. The video lasts for just over a minute, and the grandma doesn't seem to get tired for a second. The young woman who recorded the video put it on Facebook. It became a sensation, having been shared nearly 25,000 times in the first few days after being posted. Grandma Rose brought joy to millions of people who saw the video. Her enthusiasm and energy had reached the hearts of many people from around the country. "Whatever she got, I want it," said one of the comments, and we can understand why. To keep yourself in love with dancing at such an old age is an inspiration to many and proof that you can love life regardless of how difficult it can become.